There's another example for DATV right up here, friends. This person, when I can get around them, they speed up. When I can't get around them, they slow down. They'll literally take a curve and slow down. You see them slowing where I'm coming up on them, and now that I can get around them, watch, they'll speed right back up. There's you another DA right there, friends. They're just, it's rampant. They'll go from running 55 to running 80, back to 55, back to 80, back to 55. I should be able to take my front bumper and push them off the street, make them get in the right lane. We just ride along, see how they slow down. They've got a place where they can slide over. Finally. Seriously? Nobody in the world but them. So friends, I'm gonna be making this trek a few times until we find out. I'm not sure what day they're gonna actually start the demolition of the house, but you can see that it is still very much standing. No demolition equipment there yet. So friends, I'm going to show you a grave here. This is something that I find interesting, to be able to look at these famous people and find their things. You can see it says Snow, still moving on, and this is Clarence Hank Snow, and he died December the 20th, 1999 here in Madison, Tennessee. And Hank was a famous country music singer. A lot of folks don't know that he was actually Canadian. He was born in Nova Scotia, in a town called Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, no less. And Hank, a lot of other people don't know that Colonel Tom Parker, which was Elvis's manager, famous manager, actually managed Hank before Elvis. And Hank was actually at the signing of the contract when Elvis signed with Colonel at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, and he's even in the pictures. I'll show you a picture of it. The unfortunate thing is Hank thought that he was in on the Elvis deal. He was signing and being a partner with Colonel. Turns out he was there, the contracts got signed, he didn't sign anything because he wasn't part of the deal. So he kind of got messed over by Colonel, like a lot of people think that they get messed over. But here's Hank, and this is Minnie Blanche Snow, which is his wife, and she passed a long time, or after Hank, 2003, he passed 1999. Women usually outlive the men, friends. But this is Hank Snow's grave right here. So if you come in the front gate, the closest gate to Madison, you come in, you make an immediate right, and then come down and make an immediate left, and come around, and you'll see the gravestone right there. Hank Snow. That's how you find him, friends. A famous Canadian country music singer, Hank Snow. So friends, I'm sure that most of you have seen the Beverly Hillbillies. And this is Earl Scruggs, famous banjo player. Him and Lester Flatt recorded the song, The Ballad of Jed Clampett. Now listen to a story about a man named Jed, poor mountaineer, Beverly kept fans fed. He was the banjo player on it. It was Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs that did that. He wrote the Foggy Mountain Breakdown and the Randy Lynn Rag and the Foggy Mountain Chimes and the Carolina Boogie and the Nashville Blues and all kinds of stuff. This is his grave, and you can see the banjo right here. And that's his wife, Louise. She died before him, 2006. He passed in 2012. He was a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame. And him and Flatt actually broke up in 1969, and he formed his own group. That was after the Beverly Hillbillies deal, and you probably saw them on the Beverly Hillbillies. They were on a few times. Interesting grave, but this right here is where the man is at. He is right here, friends. Died in 2012, 5 years ago. Got a really cool looking grave marker. That's the Ryman On the right, the new Country Music Hall of Fame on the left. Right over here, that's not the original, that's the new one. And this is his grave marker right there. He's born in 1924. He says he is the most influential and the most imitated banjo player in the world. He played the 5-string banjo and used a 3-finger style that a lot of people really liked. And this is his actual marker. And she was the first female artist manager and booking agent in the history of country music. I guess she booked him. They met at WSM, the Grand Ole Opry, and the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. They married in 1948. Soon after, Earl and guitarist Lester Flatt formed their partnership. She began booking concerts for Flatt and Scruggs and soon became their manager in an era when the music business was very much of a man's world. Her managerial vision stayed strong and focused, and the band's popularity kept rising. Her busy workload also included promo, publishing, bookkeeping duties for the duo. When they disbanded in '69, she continued to manage Earl's iconic career until her passing. In an interview in 2005, Earl spoke of Louise and said, "I didn't get where I went just on talent. What talent I had would have never peaked without her. She helped shape music up as a business instead of just people out picking and grinning." She was actually, let's see, in 2007, they had the Louise Scruggs Memorial Forum, which was created to honor music industry leaders, exemplifying the high business standards set by Louise during her lifelong and illustrious career. In addition to being a respected, trailblazing businesswoman, she was a very devoted and loving wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. So this was a team, and you never really heard of her because she was behind the scenes, but wow, what a great memorial. Earl Scruggs and Scruggs friends. And by the way, that round stone right over there is Hank Snow. Friends, what we have right here is Roy Acuff. Died in 1992. That's Mildred Acuff. This was his mother, his father, Gladys Mildred Acuff, and then Claude Acuff Sr. This is the grave, and they're actually very close in the cemetery to Earl Scruggs. Scruggs is that one, you can see where it says Scruggs right back there. But this is their memorial. And you see somebody's tied the ribbon around it. He was known as a famous fiddle player, and the king of country music is what Roy Acuff was actually referred to. His father was a Baptist preacher and a fiddle player, and his mom played piano. So music was very popular in their house. And he was a baseball player, played on the Grand Ole Opry. Been around a while, friends. Acuff Rose Publishing, which was huge in the 50s and 60s and 70s, was a game changer for country music. Roy Acuff right here, friends. And when you come in the cemetery, it's literally right here. Spring Hill Cemetery, Madison, Tennessee. Here's Jimmy Martin, friends, who now sings in heaven. Says, "Shake hands with Mother and Daddy again, and will the circle be unbroken?" I think he is the author of Will the Circle Be Unbroken. Died in 2005. A self-described poor boy from Sneedville, Tennessee, in references to his early years, Jimmy James H. Martin was dubbed the king of bluegrass music during the 1970s. A major force in defining and establishing the music's so-called high lonesome sound. He began as a lead singer guitarist with the Bluegrass Boys in October 1949. In 1959, he formed his Sunny Mountain Boys and became a headline artist on both the Louisiana Hayride in Shreveport, which Elvis was famous for being on, and the WWVA Wheeling Jamboree, 1959 to 1962. Among other labels, Jimmy Martin recorded 138 titles for a major record company, many of which including Oceans of Diamonds, Sofroni, Widowmaker, and Sunny Side of the Mountain did well in country music charts in the 50s and to the 70s. Virtually all of the songs he popularized came to be regarded as standards. A colorful and consummate entertainer and musician, Jimmy Martin produced profound and enduring influences on the idiom during its critical formative years and throughout the remainder of bluegrass music's first half century. 1995 inductee into the Bluegrass Wall of Honor, 1967 into the Walkway of Stars in the Country Music Hall of Fame. His wife has not passed yet. You can see that she will be buried here too. Mary Ann was a dear friend of Jimmy's who loved and cared for his 4 children when they were small: Timmy, Ray, Lisa, and Buddy Lee. So I guess they never married. I'll have to look that story up, friends. Jimmy Martin. And something that I'm seeing here, you learn things when you come to graveyards. Roy Neal Acuff died in 2015, November the 5th, and I would have to assume that since Roy Acuff is here, that this was his son. And let's see, 43 would be 57, 67, 70, so he was older. I guess he could have died from just natural causes. So speaking of country music royalty, you have Roy Acuff here, you have Scruggs there, and that round thing right over there is Hank Snow. They're all right here together, and there's Jimmy Martin right there. And you can see when you come in the main entrance, not the military side, but the other main entrance, where it says Spring Hill across there. Roy Acuff right here, Scruggs there, Snow there, Jimmy Martin right there, all right together. So friends, right here we have Floyd Cramer, born in Shreveport, Louisiana, or Louisiana as some would say. Self-taught piano player. He died, you can see, in 1997. He was renowned as one of the architects of the Nashville sound. In 1955, he moved to Nashville and became one of the most sought-after session musicians in town. He played on sessions for Roy Orbison, Everly Brothers, Patsy Cline, Perry Como, Chet Atkins, Boots Randolph, Owen Bradley, and Elvis Presley, and more. He recorded more than 50 solo albums, and he's very famous for a few songs. Last Date is something that really comes to mind for me. The San Antonio Rose, Fancy Pants, and On the Rebound. And won a Grammy Award for his Best Country Instrumental for the song My Blue Eyes in 1979. Besides country, he played rock, jazz, blues, gospel, and light classical. He died of cancer in Nashville in 2003. He was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame in 2008. It's too bad they don't give these people the awards that they deserve when they're still alive. It's just a shame. I don't know why they do stuff like that. But Floyd Cramer right here, friends, and his wife Mary, you can see that she is still alive. Floyd Cramer right here, friends. Now, it would be hard for me to tell you how to find this, except for in the very back of this cemetery of Spring Hill, you see this wall right here. There's a flag, and you can see that edge of that wall, there's a flag and it goes up. If you come right here where this tree is at, Floyd Cramer. Friends, George Morgan right here. Lori Morgan's dad. A beautiful man, a beautiful voice, and a heart to match. He passed in 1975. He was born in 1924, so he was relatively young. What's that, 52? If I'm doing my, or 51 if I'm doing my math right. And he's best known for being a singer and guitarist referred to as the country crooner in the 1950s. In 1948, he became a member of the Grand Ole Opry and recorded the song Candy Kisses, which was a #1 hit on the country Billboard charts in 1949. His other hits include Red Roses for a Blue Lady, Mansion Over the Hilltop, Jesus Savior Pilot Me, and You're the Only Good Thing That's Happened to Me. He also hosted his own radio program and was the last person to sing on the stage of the Ryman Auditorium before the Grand Ole Opry moved to its new location, which is on Briley Parkway, right up the road from where we're at. in 1974. He is a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame and father, as I mentioned, of country music artist Lorrie Morgan. George Morgan right here, friends. And Lorrie's husband, Keith Whitley, is in this same cemetery. We're going to go find him. So Anastasia Morgan, which I would assume is Lorrie's mama, is still alive. George Morgan, friends. Keith Whitley right here, my friends. Forever yours faithfully. His being was my reason. And you see people have left coins here. I'm sure Lorrie is doing this. This is her future burial site. And Keith was most famous for his first television appearance was Buddy Starcher's regional TV show at the age of 8. He formed a bluegrass band with his friend Ricky Skaggs a few years later. When both teenagers were 15 years old, they were asked to play a local show when Ralph Stanley and Entourage was running late. Stanley hired them for his band, and they stayed for 2 years until Keith went to work for Carl Jackson. And by 1974, he had already survived a car crash at 120 miles per hour, driving a car off a cliff into a river in 1978. His excessive drinking made him unreliable. It did, however, give him a hardened, honky-tonk voice. In 1986, he married rising country music star Lorrie Morgan and cracked the top 20 for the first time with Miami, Miami. Keith finally reached #1 in 1988 with Don't Close Your Eyes, which, if you're a country music fan, you've got to know. And he continued his streak with his well-known song, I'm No Stranger to the Rain. I'm no stranger to the rain. But sadly, in the midst of his newly found success, he died at his home from alcohol poisoning due to excessive alcohol intake on the night of May the 8th, 1989. He has a son that I know of, Jesse, which is out singing now, which is Lorrie's son and Keith's son. And poor fella had it bad. I've heard stories where they were trying to stop him from drinking alcohol, and he would drink like aftershave or cologne, things like that for the alcohol effect. But a lot of people, unfortunately, friends that are really, really talented are also really, really torn or just mentally messed with their whole life. And for whatever reason, you would think somebody that had #1 hits, had money, had a beautiful wife, a child, had the world by their tail, but that's not the things that bring happiness, friends. Jesus Christ is the thing that brings happiness. So this is Keith Whitley's grave. Now the way that you can find this is that grave right there, if you can see it, the one that has the stuff on the top of it, is Lorrie's dad's grave, George Morgan. So if you walk right straight back and come to here, there's a big tree here. And this, by the way, is not where, if you're looking at Find the Grave, it is not where the marker is for the Find the Grave marker. It is not correct. It is off a little bit. It actually takes you over there where that flag and that little tree is, but it's under the big tree right over here. And another way you can tell is it's one of the only ones out here you see, if you look around, that has the split in it with the urn in the middle of the split for the flowers. So there it is, friends. Keith Whitley. So I'm trying to give you some more markers so you can find it. You see the mausoleums, there's 2 of them, big ones, they're there. The main gate coming in is somewhere over there, so it's kind of come in and go to your right and keep going towards the back. This is Sunny Mead right here on this corner. This is Crestview on this side, and there's actually a marker up there that says Crestview. And if you look under that tree, that's George Morgan with the tall marker right there with the music note, and you see the gold on it. And if you walk directly behind that, almost exactly straight behind it, Keith Whitley's is straight back there. And as I said, when Lori Morgan passes, which is going to be a long, long time, that's her grave and Keith's grave. That's where her grave will be, and that's where Keith's grave is, right back there in the back. You can see the American flag just to the right of his grave, way back there. It's really far back in the back of this cemetery, so there's no easy markers for me to tell you where it's at. But another thing you could do is, from where I'm standing, I can see that tall building right there. So that tall building is at the edge of the graveyard. So the graveyard actually ends right over there. So that's another way you would more or less try to go straight back. Keep coming back, 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 back. Crestview, Sunny Mead. Friends, I'm sorry it's so windy today. Anytime I'm out trying to tell stories, naturally it's going to be really windy. So this is probably a name that you've never heard of, but I bet you know the song. Whitson, Beth Slater Whitson, but it's up against these, so it kind of threw me off. It was hard to find. But she wrote the song, Let Me Call You Sweetheart. And she never knew, her fame basically came after she had passed in 1930, so she never knew that she got famous on these things, but she wrote Let Me Call You Sweetheart. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me call you sweetheart, 'cause you love me too. And she died relatively young. It looks like about 51, which George Morgan, Lori Morgan's dad, I remember, was 51. So 51, 52, those are bumps, friends. Beth Whitson. Friends, did you ever wonder in a graveyard what happens to the dirt that they dig out? Because when they put a casket and a vault in, they have extra dirt. Well, this is the answer. This is in the back of a graveyard right here. You can see that we're in the back of this graveyard. Every graveyard has this little spot right here where they have all the extra dirt. So now you know. So friends, if you ever wonder what it takes to keep a nation safe, go to a veterans cemetery. Look at all these gravestones. This one says 1940, 1939. So these people, oh, that's the number, not the year. So he was in World War II. '66. '59, '89. So there's all kinds of different, there's no real method to it. I wonder, are some of these empty? As far as, is there a, because that's 59, that's 89, that's 59, that's 66, 59. So how did that happen to be 89? Just wonder. So something I saw when I was pulling in, it said no guns, which is total BS. This is military. What do you mean no guns? The military is guns. What does guns have to do with a cemetery anyway? Boy, the government is something else, friends. This railroad trestle really looks old. I wonder how old it is, when it was made. Any clues, friends?
I can tighten up and find out.